Let Shedeur go. He's a starter. His stardom ceiling is to the roof. The guy is that good. I think sometimes it's like, because he's in Cleveland and they don't win and they don't do much good things in football, and then you bring in Deshaun Watson, where a guy that's owed all this money, you're not going to see Shedeur like we want to. Let him go to a team where he's running the show. I think a fresh start from him, because he's still young, he's only in his second year, a fresh start from him would be excellent. The kid is a superstar in this league, and he just needs the opportunity to show it. The few flashes that we seen last year as a true rookie, right? And all the stuff he dealt with the coach, you know how bad he was. And then they had Dylan Gabriel actually thinking he was going to be an NFL player for more than 3 years. Now if you put Shedeur Sanders on a real team, get him some real coaching and some support behind him, bro, who knows? Because the last time I know, when he had that support and he had that chance, he did great things in Jackson State and he did great things in Colorado.
Cleveland Browns news. There's apparently Shedeur Sanders trade rumors going on right now. ESPN Cleveland put this out. They said on the Really, Really Big show, or just the Really Big, I'm really, really big, that there are talks and ongoing calls about the availability of Shedeur Sanders right now for the Cleveland Browns. Obviously performing well during OTAs, saying that he's closing that gap to Deshaun Watson. Do you guys think Cleveland would be making a mistake if they were to trade Shedeur Sanders?
All right, look, Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app, and it's the easiest way to win cash while you're watching games. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on 2 or more players, and you lock it in.
Nobody saw this coming. Not the Cleveland front office, not the ESPN analysts, and definitely not the people who spent the last year doubting Shedeur Sanders. Because a trade rumor just dropped that is sending shockwaves through the entire NFL. A rumor so explosive, so controversial, that it's forcing every single person in football to pick a side. And once you hear what's actually being said behind closed doors, you're not going to believe the Browns are even considering this. But here's what makes this even insane. This isn't just a football story. This is about a young man who the NFL tried to bury in the 5th round, who showed up anyway, who outperformed every expectation they gave him, and now they want to trade him before he even gets his real shot. Let that sink in.
We're in June, so there's a lot of scuttlebutt about Shedeur's future with the Browns. This is not Kenny Pickett. Because that's the comparison, right? Well, they trade for Kenny Pickett.
That is what Daryl was doing Sunday. He went through that whole thing, that they went out and traded for Kenny Pickett, similarly how they traded up for Shedeur, and then they could, use his value to trade him elsewhere. It was the same song.
And so if he loses the starting job, he will have approximately no value. The reason Kenny Pickett had value is he was the 20th pick in the 2022 draft. And that was the whole idea on what his value was. Hey, if you can get a first-round talent for a 5th rounder, you're going to feel like you won the lottery because you got a 5th rounder for a 5th-round talent?
Right.
I think it's a bit of a stretch, and I think I understand why we're doing it. I understand all the little nuances we're trying to explore here. If Shedeur isn't here week 1, it better be because he's on the IR. Because if the Browns trade him before week 1 and little legs Dylan Gabriel's still here, I'm going to be frustrated. If the giant Taylon Green beats Shedeur out for a spot, I will have said you probably made the wrong decision there as well.
I don't think so. I think if you can find a willing buyer for Shedeur Sanders, you know what it is. You buy low, you sell high. If you get Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, you can probably acquire more than a 5th round pick for him. The only thought process for me is this. I wouldn't move off of Shedeur just yet because I'm not fully confident in Deshaun Watson. Is there a world where I trade Shedeur Sanders before the trade deadline? Absolutely. If Deshaun Watson shows me that he still has it in Cleveland, beyond the shadow of a doubt, I'm retaining Deshaun Watson. I'm letting him play out this year, letting him play out next year. I'm probably drafting a quarterback in this upcoming class, and I'm going from there.
ESPN Cleveland just dropped a report that stopped the entire sports world cold. There are active conversations, ongoing calls, right now, today, about the availability of Shedeur Sanders. The Cleveland Browns, the same franchise that drafted him, are reportedly fielding trade inquiries. And here's the thing that nobody wants to say out loud. Shedeur isn't struggling. He's been closing the gap on Deshaun Watson during OTAs. He's been turning heads in practice. He's been doing everything right. So why are we even having this conversation? Now here's where it gets real. The analysts breaking this down aren't just dismissing Shedeur, they're saying something far more complicated. The argument isn't that Shedeur is bad, the argument is he's too good to be a backup. One analyst put it perfectly: Shedeur Sanders has too much cultural gravitational pull to sit on a bench. Think about what that means for a second. A fifth-round pick, selling out jerseys, filling seats, generating more conversation than half the starting quarterbacks in this league. That's not a backup, that's a franchise cornerstone, and the Browns might be about to let him walk. Now pay attention to this part, because this is where the whole situation gets uncomfortable. The reason Shedeur is even in this position: Deshaun Watson, a quarterback who hasn't played real NFL football at a high level since 2020, a quarterback the Browns handed a fully guaranteed $230 million contract to. And here's the brutal truth that every Cleveland fan already knows, but nobody in the front office wants to admit. You don't know what you have in Deshaun Watson. Nobody does. So why would you trade the guy with the upside, the talent, and the hunger before you even know if the guy you paid $250 million can still play? That's not strategy. That's panic.
Money, you're not going to see Shedeur like we want to. Let him go to a team where he's running the show. I think a fresh start from him, because he's still young, he's only in his second year, a fresh start for him would be excellent. The kid is a superstar in this league, and he just needs the opportunity to show it. The few flashes that we seen last year as a true rookie, right? And all the stuff he dealt with the coach, you know how bad he was. And then they had Dylan Gabriel like actually thinking he was going to be an NFL player for more than 3 years. Now if you put Shedeur Sanders on a real team, get him some real coaching and some support behind him, bro, who knows? Because the last time I know, when he had that support, he had that chance.
Because here's the thing, the analysts are already mapping out. If the Browns move Shedeur, there are teams lined up. The Arizona Cardinals? Kyler Murray isn't even the locked-in starter right now. That's an open door. The Minnesota Vikings? Fascinating situation. The Atlanta Falcons? They've been trying to figure things out at quarterback for years. But the smartest voices in this conversation are saying the same thing. Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to go somewhere to be a 3. He needs to go somewhere he can be the guy. Put him on a real team, get him real coaching, surround him with real weapons, and then watch what happens. Because the last time Shedeur had support, at Jackson State, at Colorado, he didn't just perform, he dominated. Now here's where things get ugly. Remember how this all started? Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be a top 10 pick. Scouts loved him, film rooms loved him, the pre-draft process loved him. And then something changed. The narrative shifted, the smoke campaign started, and one of the most talented quarterbacks in his class fell all the way to the 5th round. The 5th round. And now that he's in Cleveland, proving people wrong every single day in practice, the Browns want to trade him before he even gets a real chance to start? Ask yourself why. Because a young black quarterback with swagger, with a famous last name, with a massive following, with jersey sales through the roof, that makes people uncomfortable. That challenges the order of things. And the way the NFL handled his draft process, you can't hide that. Everybody saw it, and everybody remembered it. Let's talk about what the tape actually shows. Because the analytics in the film tell a story the critics don't want to discuss. In limited action, as a true rookie, dealing with a bad coaching situation, a broken offensive line, and a revolving door at every skill position, Shedeur Sanders showed legitimate NFL-caliber processing. His pocket presence, his anticipation throws, his ability to go through progressions, that's not something you teach, that's something you're born with. And now, the Browns have retooled the offensive line, they drafted receivers in rounds 1 and 2, they have a young elite running back in Quinshon Judkins, the infrastructure is finally there. And they want to trade him? One analyst asked a question that should haunt every Browns fan. Imagine a world where Shedeur leaves Cleveland, goes to the Cardinals, gets a real shot, and becomes a Pro Bowl quarterback.
while Deshaun Watson struggles to stay healthy. That is the exact nightmare scenario the Cleveland organization has been living for 20 years, and they might be walking right into it again.
We're asking him, so he's a fifth-round quarterback, getting questioned by, in the locker room, all type, might not even play or didn't play well, but he's getting questioned as a backup. He also is selling hella jerseys. He's also putting hella butts in seats.
Yep.
He's also got a lot of people cheering for him and cheering against. So I think you take the good with the bad with Shedeur, and also if he becomes that guy, he's going to blow up any franchise he's at, and it's going to do way more good than it is harm. So
Browns fans are not okay right now. Social media is exploding. The comment sections are on fire because this isn't just about a backup quarterback on a depth chart. This is about the soul of a franchise. Shedeur Sanders represents something bigger than football in Cleveland. He's the guy who got knocked down and kept getting up. He's the guy who took the fifth-round slight personally and turned it into motivation. And the locker room feels it. Teammates see the work ethic. They see the preparation. They see the leadership. And the fans who've been suffering through decade after decade of dysfunction, they finally have someone to believe in. Trading that away for draft capital would be the most Cleveland thing the Cleveland Browns have ever done. Here's the bottom line. If Deshaun Watson goes out there in week 1 and looks like the 2020 version of himself, fine. Evaluate the situation, make your decision. But you don't move off Shedeur Sanders right now. Not before a single snap counts. Not before you know what Watson actually has left. And not before you give a generational talent the fair shot that was taken from him before he ever put on a professional uniform. The Cleveland Browns have a chance to be on the right side of history for once. They have a young quarterback who people across this country are invested in, who sells jerseys, who fills seats, who makes noise every time he steps on a field. That is rare. That is valuable. That is not something you throw away for a third-round pick in a prayer. Whether you love Shedeur Sanders or you think the hype is overblown, one thing is becoming impossible to deny. Every time they try to minimize him, every time they try to shrink him down to fit what they expected, he refuses. He keeps showing up. He keeps putting in the work. He keeps giving people a reason to believe. And maybe, just maybe, the most dangerous thing in the NFL right now is a quarterback with nothing to lose and everything to prove. The Browns better not make the mistake of finding out the hard way. If you're still here, you already know. Hit that subscribe button right now. Ring that bell, because we are not done talking about Shedeur Sanders. Not even close. Let's go.